Well, what's going on, everybody? Hey, this is Brian over here at the Little Orchard Farm, and today we are butchering or harvesting our second batch of meat birds. I'm really excited because we've got several of these birds that are massive, and I started trying to think through, sharing the challenges and the changes that we made from our first go around to this go around, and there were several. There were several more challenges that we had, but to any extent, we are harvesting birds today, and it's going to be fun. I'm going to bring you guys along for the journey. So glad to be back. We took several weeks off as I think I shared on the last video. Karen and the kids were off in Italy traveling. I stayed and was doing chores around the farm. Work started getting a little hectic and a little busy, and so I had to kind of make a decision on balancing that. The work, the home life, the social life, the faith life, and getting enough rest, just being able to rest. So I took a few weeks off of doing the videos, and so but we're back, and we're excited to be sharing this week with you guys, and we can't wait. I'm getting all the supplies out for our harvesting stations. Brittany and Micah, they will be coming over later on. I think Micah may actually have a little something else to do, but Brittany's going to be here. She and Karen were the harvesting queens, were the ones that were doing all the cutting up last time. They did phenomenal. So that'll be awesome to have them back. But I also wanted to share with you some of the lessons learned from the last time to this time. The last time we harvested our birds, we had no. Once we got them out to the chicken tractor, I think we lost 2 chicks last time in the brooder. So once we got them out to the chicken tractor, we didn't lose any birds. And this time was different. This time we lost four birds out in the chicken tractor. We lost 3 of them to raccoons, and for whatever reason, I didn't realize that the chickens sleep along the walls of the chicken tractor. They don't sleep toward the middle or anything like that. They kind of rest up against the edges, and raccoons sneak up on them as they sleep, and they reach through that chicken wire and they grab them. And after that first attack, I enclosed one end of it to give them some protection. And again, because of how hot it was, and them probably just scattering out, creating some room amongst them, again, they kind of were sleeping along the edges, away from that protected area. I think the airflow through there was probably a little better, getting them some air during the hot summer nights. And I lost another one. And so I eventually put electric wire around it, and I've had no other problems. But it took the loss of 3 of my chickens to learn that lesson. And then there was later on, about a week later or so, 2 weeks later, I walk out there, and man, I've got one of them that's just splayed on the ground, and had died of heat. And so we ended up running a fan out there to them and providing them some air circulation. We were having 100 plus degree temperatures with a high humidity, and those birds in that metal container of a chicken tractor just couldn't take it. and so we lost one of the birds there. So 4 birds lost. But the exciting part about this batch of birds is that they are significantly heavier. Our last time that we did it, our first batch, I think the birds averaged somewhere in the round right at 6 pounds, maybe 5 3/4 to 6 pounds. These birds, I'm going to be shocked if all of them don't top 6.5 to 6 3/4. There'll be some that will be over 7 pounds. They're huge. So, and we were able to plumpen those little guys and gals up by doing one little thing. So what was that change? Well, we altered their feed. Once they were out on pasture in the chicken tractor, before we had used a combination of chick starter and grower. And the grower that we had was 23%. And this time around, we went straight with the grower out. As soon as we got them into the box, we went with the grower, but we went with a 27% protein grower, and it threw the weight on them significantly. Very visible change in them. Both of these batches were both Cornish crosses. They were sourced at a different place, but I don't think that made much of a difference in this batch adding, a pound. Could it have been the weather? Could it have been that the heat was driving them to either eat more? Perhaps. We didn't measure the amount of intake that these took compared to that first batch, but I can tell you that I feel like that the protein change or the difference, the increase in the protein certainly was significant enough to add to their weight.
They are going crazy.
I'm impressed so far.
Just wait.
Okay.
They're huge.
And he.
There we go. All right. Mission accomplished. Look at them all.
These are a lot of roosters.
There's one.
All right, so we've gone and we've picked up the birds. We've brought them over here. We have 11 of the birds that we're going to process. We'll begin by obviously dispatching them here on the cones. We'll move them over here to the scalder. Scalder needs to be between 145 and 150. We're going to dunk those in there, get the feathers loosened up, and it's sitting a little warm right now. We're going to let it cool down just a little bit. The plucker, which is, I think, one of the greatest inventions ever made, after watching somebody pluck one by hand and then throwing them in this thing for like 15 or 20 seconds. It's amazing. So Micah and Brittany were so gracious to loan us theirs. We'll throw it in the plucker, pull it out, move it over here to the processing table, where we've added a couple of things to help with us from the last time. Last time we needed to be able to put our knife somewhere without it sliding and flying off or whatnot. So we now have a magnet that allows us just to simply throw that down and it'll stay put, won't go anywhere. The other thing was a hose holder, to where when you're not using the hose, you don't have to sit down on the ground and then reach down and pick it up and keep doing that all the time. We simply just got a little deal where we latched it onto the table, and we can easily hold the hose there. Moves over to an ice bath, where we'll put it in there. Ice water, that brings the temperature down rather quickly, and then Karen can then take it and begin the packaging of those birds. And it'll finish up over here in our ice cooler, where we will then move it to the freezer once we're done. Well, all right, we got a lot of work to do. It's gonna be fun. Let's do this.
Not okay. And I don't know, it's not that it's gross. I can't explain it. I did this when I was pregnant with her too, though. Mike like I got a cut on his head that wasn't even that bad.
Paper towel would help.
Because the paper towel will go brown.
Yeah.
We're going to do them together, right? Don't look at
I'm impressed. Is it working? Look at that.
Can I get it? Can I carry you? I can carry it. This is a dinner to eat.
That's one of the big ones.
I mean, that got all the feathers off. Harper, put it on the table.
Remember what I said? Outside of the table.
Yeah, go check the chickens.
You be the chicken checker.
My dad, my brother always like.
All right, so Karen is wrapping up the last few bags of drumettes and wings. And so as we were processing, we were kind of taking some notes about how much they weighed. We averaged about a little over 4 pounds per bird, at least on some of the more moderate ones. There was a few bigger ones that I guarantee you we probably had 4.5 to 5 pounds. And so that was pretty awesome. We harvested 11 birds total. We're gonna wrap up the rest of cleaning this up and getting it picked up, and then we'll be done. We'll put it away. We'll do something else out here.
Finding bugs.
Well, we just had a rain go through and dropped a couple of inches on the farm, which is unbelievably awesome. The problem is we just haven't had enough of it. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I actually bought some materials to make some blackberry wine. I was going to make a run at making my very first batch of blackberry wine. But it's been way too hot and way too dry. And as you can see here, the blackberries have all but dried up, burned up actually. Well, I'll have the stuff for next season, and I'll make a few batches perhaps next year if we get a little bit more water and can get that heat regulated a little bit better off. This time around, it was brutal. Another place it was brutal is in the garden and in the orchard. In the orchard, I lost three of my 5 Concord grapes. These are my new Concord grapes, and I think these are 2.5 to 3 year old. They will be bearing next season for sure. I also lost one of my figs, and so I purchased a brown turkey fig tree, and I'm going to replace that up in the orchard, and hopefully I can keep these alive. One of the things that we did not do this season that we did have in place for last season was drip irrigation. And we didn't do the drip irrigation this year because we thought in the garden anyway that we had overwatered our tomatoes, and that maybe some of the production or lack of the production from some of our vegetables had been impacted by the fact that we watered it too much. Now I look back on it, and I'm not so sure that was the case. We were getting a little bit of bottom rot in some of our vegetables, and I now know that that's a calcium deficiency, not necessarily a lack or it can be obviously too much watering, but that too much watering the lack of calcium doesn't allow it to absorb and process those nutrients as well. And so, so essentially, we didn't lay out the drip irrigation, and certainly we really didn't do it on the orchard simply because the orchard has now 2-year-old established trees. But the new Concord grapes and my muscadines that I put in the ground this past season probably did need to have some drip irrigation done to it, and I didn't have that. So I lost several Concord grape plants. So of the 5 Concord grape vines that I have, there's a couple of them here that have wilted back. They're still alive, believe it or not, but they're wilted back. And with me going ahead and purchasing the two new ones, I'm going to actually try to take these out and replace it with the this newer one, and just kind of do a swap. Maybe even try to save this vine. Of course, it's incredibly wet now. Was that the taproot right there? I believe it is. Ooh, thing's root bound. Goodness gracious. Now then, the other thing we're going to want to do is we're going to clip this bottom, the tape off, and run these limbs or the vines along this bottom one here, and get them established along the trellis. And I'll do that in the coming days. There's that root. All right, just as simple as throwing it in there, packing it in the hole, making sure we got good coverage all the way around the base. There you have it. We're going to plant one more plant real quick, and we're going to wrap it up and call it a weekend. So my original, I had a black mission and a brown turkey, and I ran over the brown turkey with my lawnmower. It was hidden well, wasn't paying attention, but I just looked, and it's actually growing back, and so we're actually getting new leaves on it. So I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it see if it'll grow. If you'll recall, we pulled a couple of dead trees out of the orchard, months and months ago. I think there was a nectarine that was actually in this spot right here that didn't make it, and so I'm just going to replant this new brown turkey fig right here and get it going. This is a beautiful, beautiful tree, man. I'm super stoked about this. All right, let's get it in the ground. Now, obviously, you don't typically want to plant after a rain, but I have very little choice, so I got to get this thing done.
There it goes.
Uh-oh, come back here. He's been following the whole time we've had him here. It's dry as a bone though, a few inches down, just a heavy, heavy rain, and we still didn't get enough to saturate hard. All right, we're planting it. Trying to make sure we planted it at the same height as it's in the bucket. And that right there looks pretty darn good, actually. So I'm gonna loosen up a little bit of the bottom. Encourage those roots. And normally I put in some mycorrhizoa for our root health, as well as some fish emulsion. Today, I don't have that. So we're gonna do the best we can with what we got. Okay. All right, the hope is we'll get some more rain tonight. We'll get all these watered in. This one should stand proud. Got a big hole right there. Well, there you have it. A brand new brown turkey in the orchard. I'm excited about that. As well as the 2 new Concord grapes that we've got. We'll end up probably planting a few more, if not even adding another row. I'm excited to get some grapes growing out here and starting to see a harvest on those. Wow, it's been a busy weekend. We're so glad that you guys joined us. We look forward to having you join us again real soon. If you're not subscribed to our channel, I encourage you, hit that subscription button and ring the bell. We'd love to have you along for the journey. But until next time, until we see you again, we will see you.